In this chapter, we're going to discuss reading and writing text files. We're going to start in this lesson with how to write data to a text file. And understand that a text file is just a file that has no special formatting, no special structure. In other words, if you're using a Windows system, it's what you would create with Notepad. So we're going to learn how to, in this lesson, write data to a file. So we start out by actually having to import a library. And that library is the I/O library. So we're going to write at the top of our program using system.io. And that gives us access to the objects that we need to write data to a file. There are 3 steps involved in writing data to a text file. First thing we have to do is set up an object that represents our text file. I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a second. Then we actually write the data to the file. And then finally, the last step is to close the file, which ensures that the data is written to the file. To create an object that represents our file, we start out with the data type text writer. Then we have a file object. We're going to name it outFile. Then we write new to call the constructor. And then we call stream writer, which is a class. As the argument to the constructor, we provide the full path to a data file. Let's call it stuff.txt. Now, it's very important to notice that when I type in the full path name, I use double backslashes, because a single backslash will represent an escape sequence. And if we try to use single backslashes, we'll get an error that says unrecognized escape sequence, which we really don't want. So we have to, as they say, escape the escape, or escape the backslash, by writing double backslash. That means treat the second backslash as a literal backslash, rather than as the beginning of an escape sequence like \n for new line or \t for tab. Now at this point, we're ready to write data to the file. I'm going to create a variable that's going to store some data. And then I'm going to prompt the user to enter some data. And then we're going to write the data to the file. And the way we do that is we call our text writer object outFile, and then we use WriteLine if we want a new line after the line of text, or write if we want to write some text and not put a new line at the end of it. Just like what we do with console. One of the nice things about .NET is that a lot of these objects have methods that perform similar work. So writing to a text file is similar to writing to the console. We do it with WriteLine. And then we'll do that 5 times to create a file with 5 lines in it. Then to finish up, we'll close the file. And that's all there is to writing data to a file. So let's run this program and see what we get. So we'll enter a line of data. This is line 1, this is line 2, and so on and so forth. We didn't write a message to say the program has finished, but it has, because we know it's only going to go 5 times. So we'll close. Now to check if that works, we're going to bring up a console window, change to our data directory, and type stuff.txt. And there are our 5 lines. If we run the program again, I'm going to change the stuff we're going to write a little bit. I want to demonstrate something. So now we're finished, so we close the program. Notice that now we have a different set of data. Every time you open a file using the stream writer class, it's going to erase the current contents of the file. Later in the chapter, I'll show you how to open a file for appending so that you save the data that's in the file. So that's how data is written to a file, and it's really no more difficult than that. Let's go over the steps again. First thing you do is create a text writer object, which you do by calling the stream writer class. That's a little confusing sometimes, with the full path name to a file. I like to use a subdirectory for my data, because if I didn't, then it puts it in the same subdirectory as your program. Step 2 is to write the data to the file using WriteLine or write. You have the choice there. And then finally, when you're finished, outFile.close to save the data to the file and to close the file. So with those 3 steps, you see it's very, very simple to write data to a file. So now we're ready to move to the next lesson, where we're going to see how to read data from a file.